Well, I guess it's time to stop clowning around because, well, we've got the real deal here. Hey, how's it going everyone? We're here with, after all this time, Naruto Uzumaki the Jinchuriki Entrusted with Hope. That is right, the brand new Naruto figure for the S.H.Figuarts line after, what's that, 4 years since the Sage Naruto did come out. Yeah, this is the revival of the line. I think they're actually really treating it as a brand new line opposed to a continuation of the previous one. I have seen a few comments online just asking why they're kind of referring to as a new line, and I think that's probably why, because this really is a brand new line compared to the previous ones. It's like the last ones do not exist. There is just the difference in quality, which we'll get a close look at soon. But before we do jump into this beautiful box here, I do want to point out that on the 27th of June, I'll be joining Tamashii Nations for a live stream for these figures. So yeah, be sure to come check that out. There's an image right here on screen now, which Tamashii Nations themselves posted on Instagram. So you can go check out that post. And there will be a review from myself coming to their official website very soon. We'll go over, I guess, the main points for this figure here, focusing on the articulation, so keep an eye out for that. If you do want to see more content like that, yeah, please go let them know. Yeah, tell them that you'd love to see more from me, and then yeah, hopefully we can work on some other cool stuff going forward. But you know, let's just jump straight into this box as it swings around to the back here at least. Yeah, this version of Naruto comes with a lot. We've got the shocked face at last, the QB face as well, which I absolutely love, and just overall nice selection of faces and a single Rasengan and kunai as well. Digging the box design, it's got that real, I want to say shoulder, Japanese calligraphy, a nice kind of thick ink lines going all around. It looks good, and if we get a side figure, whew, I think that's going to fit in really well. But you've got the nice just orange on the front here. Yeah, there isn't really too much to go into for the overall packaging, but if you are new, the Tamashii Nations quality seal sticker here is one way to tell a legit figure from a bootleg. But yeah, that covers the box, so let's just get a close look at what it comes with. So we've got Naruto here in the center, and he comes with that nice smiling face, which compared to the best selections Naruto is so much better. This old one, he really reminds me of one of those clown heads at a fair, with the big wide mouth open that kind of swivels left to right when you throw him a ping pong ball. So I'm super pumped that they got rid of that, and that is such a nice looking face in comparison. And yeah, speaking of faces, we've got the first QB face, which we didn't have in the previous releases, which is great. The open mouth shouting, his, yeah, again, open mouth shouting and the kind of shocked, annoyed look with the giant circle white eyes, which I love. And then we've just got the kind of base, not really upset or sad, just a pretty nice neutral face, which is good to see. And we also have the crossed arms. We've got one Rasengan effect as well, and then a single kunai. Now for hands, well, we've got a few here. We've got 1, 2, 3 different pairs. So the bottom ones are for holding on the kunai, and then we've got the jutsu seal. I think probably it's been such a long time since I've read Naruto actually. But yeah, the jutsu seal symbol hands that they do, and then you've got the open palm ones. And then we've got an extra open palm one for his right hand, and that is so it can attach to the Rasengan, because it does have a tiny peg that we can see there. So yeah, that covers everything that he comes with, which for a cheap retail figure I think is pretty good. I mean, 5 faces in total. I'm really loving that. I would have liked to see one more kunai right here, but I think that would have just been perfect if we had that. Anyway, let's take a close look at his overall finish. Okay, so we've got Naruto out of a box here, and on the back we can see his Uzumaki logo, which is a pretty deep red. He's got his pouch for his shuriken and other cool ninja stuff he has. Actually, and on the top here we have the Uzumaki symbol again with a nice silver and the brown paint there, which is good. The rest of his body, the red and black, so not red, the orange and black, is basically just all the base plastic colour, though the upper part here is a little bit more matte compared to some of the arm areas. Though the zipper is really nice, nice crisp texture down the centre there. It actually looks like a zip, and with the silver colour it's really nice. His toe tips are painted, and overall it's looking pretty good, and the same with the strap around his, I think that was from the kunai case that he has on his right leg. Yeah, the hair, I think I really like the yellow that they have. The overall skin tone is pretty nice, a little bit more on the pastier side compared to some figures, but overall I think it is pretty neutral, especially if you're in quite a nice warmly lit room. Yeah, overall I think the proportions of the hands and everything else is looking really nice. I guess one part that I'll touch on later is I'm not a huge fan of the design of the upper legs here. It's just a straight flat line, and same with this floating part on his waist, but there is a good reason for that, I believe, and kind of same for this part here. So it's one of those, I think it was a worthwhile trade off, though if going forward in the future I'd love to see some type of upgrade there. But one of the main points I want to highlight are these ankles. They're so good. It really takes the figures to a whole new level, I believe. Yeah, I think just easy to pose. Obviously from there you have more articulation, range, and I think overall looks nicer. And same with the hair as well, for something that is nice and new. The hair is on the neck and the head, so it's actually split, and I think because of that you get a nice range of motion, something that you don't normally get in other figures. I think that is what this Naruto figure here is. He is the king of articulation. That's kind of a bad thing from a point of view that makes other figures definitely nowhere near as nice compared to this figure. But yes, so speaking of articulation, let's just take a closer look. So starting with his head for his articulation, when we bend his head forward, obviously his neck is moving lots there, but if we keep that still somehow, there we go, a little bit hard, but you'll notice though that the hair on his neck and his head are separate, and because of that you get so much more range of motion in here. So you can bend his whole head back like so, and then when you move it forward, it's a little bit fiddly, there we go. He can actually look down a lot further compared to other figures, and that is because his head and hair on that neck part there are kind of separate. It gives you a little bit extra gap in there where everything can move around. And again, going left and right, he just has such a more natural range of motion, and I think that's part of the reason why this figure is so fun to play with. Just about every joint, it has that extra range of motion which you don't normally find in other figures. For his headband, it has a single point where it can go up and down. It would have been quite nice if this could swivel. It is a little bit restricting just being able to go up and down. Moving on to his shoulders now, you'll notice he's got a massive curve here coming into his upper chest, and because of these extra curves, means you can bend his butterfly joints or shoulder joints around further before you're hitting a point where it will stop itself. So you can swivel that all the way around. And look at that angle there, whereas most figures will kind of stop here, Naruto just keeps on going. Same for going back as well. Super nice and easy, and everything moves fluidly. So join in, it can pop out. Yeah, everything just feels super nice. And his elbow joints, not too bad. A little bit more motion around could have been quite nice there. But overall the joints are looking pretty clean. The wrist, pretty much the same as most figures, nothing too different there for his wrist joints, but I feel like maybe it's slightly better than some figures, but this one is a little bit more standardized. Now coming down to the chest here, again we've got a nice big curve up on the front. On the back is a little bit more straight, but despite that, check out the curve. You can bend him all the way around. It just keeps on going, which is great. And even from the front, when he's curved back basically to the extreme, on the front and top, it still looks pretty clean all the way around, and that is due to this floating piece down here. It's quite big, it's maybe a little bit hard to see, but it's covering a massive gap underneath here. And due to the extra gap there, he's able to bend a lot further before the different parts hit and stop itself from moving. So that's where you can bend forward and back so far. And then due to the extra curve in its upper chest, it also helps for the diagonal bending as well. So here, just everything on the top here just moves so nice. I don't really know what else to say except for it's really nice. Moving down to the hips here, so yeah, he can do the splits really nice. Everything moves pretty freely and feels really nice as well. And funny thing is, the design here looks pretty similar to the original. It's just, yeah, just everything is... Funny enough, the old one had pretty good leg range. It's just that everything else kind of looked pretty disproportionate. Yeah. Anyway, put it off to the side and come back to the fun new figure. One of the other big changes I've done is on the leg here, which might be able to pop that off. There we go. So he has a decent sized peg on his upper thigh, and there's a slight gap around as well. So it's not a tight, snug fit or anything like that. There is a little bit of room for movement, and because that you can get a little bit extra point of articulation, which is quite nice if you're trying to push him to the extreme. Moving down to the knee, this part is really nice. So good motion and everything kind of covers pretty cleanly. I think overall it is the same colouring. Actually, I didn't point out earlier, but there is a little bit of weathering on him. Not much, but there is some parts which do have a slight darker shade of orange. Anyway, moving down to my favourite part of these figures, and that is the ankles. Look at that, you can twist it left and right, pivot up and down, all around. So normally in this part here we'll have a metal pin, which I always just kind of found quite ugly. So we don't have that, so that's one thing I'd really do love. Back and tilt forward, back, and just swivels all the way around. What that means is when you put his leg out, you can keep that foot flat. So if you've seen the picture which Tamashii Nations did put on the Instagram with Naruto with the QB mode, and that photo was from the review showcasing the crazy articulation of these ankles, how you can have them spread out with that flat on the ground while having him touching the ground with his head up and his other arm out. So yeah, it is cool how you can basically get any pose you want from this figure. He does have a usual toe tip point of articulation, which is actually pretty big on this figure. Yeah, I think that basically sums up all of the articulation, which is, if you've checked out the photos on rockchala.com, you'll see he can strike some great poses. If you haven't checked them out, there's a link below, so you can go to them. There's also 360 images on there as well. And same for Sasuke. If you haven't checked out his review, that's also up. That went out this morning, so you can check him out in full detail too. And he's also a fantastic release. So let's check out these faces in more detail. This is the base one, which is the nice smiling one. And overall, I think it's quite nice. We have, this time there's a nice subtle kind of a darker skin tone colour around his lips, which is nice, and his teeth are separated too. And then the nice blue eyes with some highlights. And just one thing I also want to point out here is that his headband is really nice. It's got real clean printing and the colours are coming through lovely as well. So next is my second favourite face for this figure, and that is the QB mode. He's got some great detail. We've got the whiskers coming through, the teeth gritting with the kind of fox teeth coming through, and then it might be kind of hard to see on this, but he has the full detailing in his eyes as well, and then the extra marks above his nose to bring through that aggression. Extremely well done face. I really hope we do get a full QB figure, maybe with some bubbly tails in the future. That'd be really cool. Not sure how they do it, but if they manage to pull it off, whew, that would be great. So next up is his shouting face. Again, some nice definition of the mouth, got the extra painting in there, and the teeth showing on top, and some lines underneath his eyes to bring through that screaming expression. Yeah, overall I think this one again is really nice. I don't really have any complaints about the faces for this figure. So now we're on to my favourite face, and that is his kind of shocked, screaming, huh? type face he does. I love the white pupils, the mouth kind of coming out and the curve and the sculpt down there I think is really nice. Faces which aren't your usual happy, sad, angry, shouting. The ones I think I tend to like more these days. Anything that kind of brings through more of that actual character, personality, anything like that. So I think that's what really kind of draws my attention to some figures these days, and this one definitely captures all of that and more. I think the only thing that would have been kind of cool was if he also came with his frog wallet. I think they would kind of pair out quite nicely with this face. The final face we have here is the neutral one. It is really neutral. It's not really a smile, smirk, or a frown or anything like that. It's just very much neutral. And again, it looks really nice. It's pretty good just for standing in the bag or just a pretty basic pose. Yeah, I mean, it works, I guess. Probably the weaker of the faces, just since it is very basic. One of the accessories he comes with is his arm swap. I'm never really a big fan of the folded arm swapping mechanisms. It's always a little bit fiddly, but this one is overall actually pretty easy. It's got two separate parts here. They have a flat peg which will slot in underneath and hold it together. So yeah, to put it on we just have to grab the upper shoulder and the arm and just wiggle and it pops off. These actually come on and off actually really easy compared to a lot of other figures, so that is something that I'm really thankful for, because as I mentioned earlier, I generally don't like these because they're a pain to put on and off, but I think this is probably one of the most easiest ones. The other easy one that I've dealt with lately is the new Piccolo figure. That one wasn't too bad, but this one is even easier. So once you've got them on, you just have to swivel his arms around and it should slot in. There we go. So yeah, there we go. We've got the arms on and overall looks pretty nice. I'm not quite touching the body properly. If you fiddle around a little bit more, you'll kind of get it fitting perfectly. But yeah, overall, actually pretty easy to put on and off, so that is something that I'm really thankful for. Let's check out his Rasengan next. So as I mentioned earlier, Naruto does come with one unique hand on his right here, and it has a peg for the Rasengan, and this just slots in like so. There we go, and there goes the Rasengan effect. Overall, yeah, I actually really like this effect. It's not as dynamic as the original. I feel like the original was more attacking, just hitting the opponent, whereas this is a bit more in the preparation stage just before he attacks. It's a nice blue colour with some white on the top. Maybe the white is a little bit strong on this one. I'm not sure if it's going to vary too much from figure to figure. But yeah, overall the effect looks really nice. You do have a lovely swirl on there as well, so it's not just a flat circle. It does have some nice patterns coming through. So while Naruto does come with two hands, a left and a right one for holding the kunai, he does only come with a single one, but it does look really good. Hopefully we'll get some more of these kunai with future figures. I mean, we don't really need two per figure. If every other figure comes with one, or with a shuriken or anything like that, it'd be cool to build up a arsenal of ninja weapons. And then just one point about weapons, he does have a pouch on the back here, but it is fixed. It kind of would have been quite nice if they'd made it so this could detach. There has been one or two times when I was posing it kind of got in the way slightly. So if that was removable, that would have been quite a nice addition. But yeah, that covers all the main accessories and faces and expressions and articulation. For the other hands and so forth, you can check out a whole bunch of photos at the end of this video and on rockchala.com for a closer look. But yeah, for now let's jump into a size comparison with the older figure. Okay, so we've got the brand new Sasuke here, drawing his katana with his Chidori poised to attack. We've got the old clown-faced Naruto here, holding the kunai and his Rasengan effect, and we've got the brand new Naruto over back here in the same pose. So before I guess for a size comparison, the old one is definitely quite a bit smaller. I feel like the scaling for the newer ones is nicer. In terms of the other big noticeable difference is the hair. We've got a highlighted yellow for the old Naruto, whereas the new one is a bit more of a softer yellow, slightly orange, which I think is actually a lot nicer and pleasing colour. The oranges are pretty similar. The Uzumaki symbol on the back of the jackets, I believe, yeah, is a bit brighter on the older one, which I actually kind of did prefer the brighter colour. The current one I feel like is a little bit dark. Though it is a lot smaller and it is a tidier logo. But yeah, for a size comparison, I do like the new Naruto. He's pretty tall and well proportioned, whereas the old one, I feel the proportions were, not really the best. And again, for Sasuke, I think he's looking really nice. You can check out his full review on this channel as well as photos on Rockchala, so you can check those out later if you wish. But yeah, what do you think about the size? And let me know in the comments below. And what you think about the difference in these two figures and the colouring especially. Which one do you prefer? So this brings us to the final thought session for this figure. And yeah, I think they've done a great job starting or reviving the Naruto S.H.Figuarts line. So much so that I feel like these figures kind of make the other Figuarts figures don't feel anywhere near as good. The new Dragon Ball ones just feel subpar in comparison to these figures in terms of the articulation you get. I love these ankle joints. I hope this is something that is put on every figure that Tamashii does going forward. The extra curves you have in the top just gives them that further range of articulation. The hair being split on the neck, I love that change. Yeah, actually the leg part is, I like it. I like the extra articulation you get. I'm not a big fan of the flat line that they've done. I think if we kind of look at figures like the Super Saiyan 4 Goku or the Krillin figure that came out this year, if you're familiar with the Dragon Ball ones, it should be pretty obvious. But if you're not, those ones had on the side here the plastic curved up and kind of like a U shape. So it kind of followed the shape of the leg. So it gave you the nice big articulation out while looking pretty nice and just kind of uniform, opposed to just being the straight line. The other part that I don't particularly like is the flap here. It's just kind of loose and floating. Sometimes it looks a little bit odd, but I would say 95% of the time it does look fine. But it is actually worth having. I'm not really sure what else you could do to give them the extra range of articulation while looking so clean. So it's not really a huge negative for me. It's just I'm not really sure how to put it, but I would love to see an alternative which gives us this articulation while maybe not being quite big, solid flappy bit of plastic there. But yeah, the overall finish, all the faces are great, the silver, the zip and the logo. Yeah, I love this figure, it's really good. I definitely want to pick up maybe another 3, just so I can have clones. Yeah, I think it'll be definitely a lot of fun there. I'm looking forward to seeing what other figures that come out. Personally, I'm looking forward to a new Jiraiya, Tsunade, Orochimaru, those 3 especially. And then maybe the Akatsuki members, but more importantly, I want a SH Monster Art style line for all the Bijou. So yeah, oh, my light just died. Been too many reviews today, so I apologise for that, but we're almost at the end, so let's just power through. As I was saying, I really want a Bijou line, going from 1 through to 9, then the 10th one. If that's something that you're keen on too, let Tamashii know. Yeah, tell them that you want to buy all of the Bijou in a SH Monster Art style. But yeah, anyway, let me know below all your thoughts about these new figures. And yeah, check out Sasuke's review and Sakura coming next month. And then there's obviously all the photos on Rockchala as I mentioned earlier. And come join me on the stream later this month. It should be a blast. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and until next time, cheers!